In the shadow of the cold, relentless Canadian winters, in one of those neighborhoods where hopes freeze faster than puddles on the sidewalks, the story of Wade Wilson began. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't anyone's role model. He was just a boy trying to find his place in a world that never gave him a sense of belonging. Wade's family was far from picture perfect. On the contrary, their version of an idyllic home life would be more at home in a dystopian novel. His father, a man who preferred the bottle to his own family, and his mother, a woman whose dreams had long since faded, provided Wade with a childhood filled with more lessons about survival than about love. But in those turbulent waters of youth, Wade found some sort of refuge in humor. His sharp tongue was his shield and sarcasm his weapon. He couldn't change his reality, but he could change the way he faced it. Yet, despite all the jokes, deep down, Wade knew there was more than this dark world that surrounded him. Once he decided he was old enough to start his own life, Wade left the sad home of his youth. However, freedom was not as sweet as he had imagined. Without proper guidance or direction, his path led him deeper into the dark corners of society where justice was as rare as a sincere smile. He became a mercenary, selling his skills to the highest bidder, living day by day in a perpetual cycle of violence and paranoia. But the irony of fate had not even begun to play with Wade. Just when he thought he couldn't fall any lower, a diagnosis of terminal cancer slapped him coldly. Death suddenly became his constant companion, reminding him of his mortality in the cruelest way. But Wade Wilson, even in the face of the inevitable, was not the type to give up easily. Instead of drowning in despair, he chose to fight, no matter how desperate it was. And so, with little more than defiance and despair, Wade Wilson stepped onto a path that would transform him into something. Well, let's just say that some people are born to be heroes, some become villains, and some, like our dear Wade, simply choose to become something entirely unique. Thus begins the saga of Deadpool, a story filled with more blood and bad jokes than most people experience in a lifetime. But hey, you can't say it wasn't interesting, right? In the depths of despair, where even the faintest glimmer of hope seemed like a shooting star in the darkest night, Wade Wilson found his way out. It was more than selling his soul to the devil. It was a deal with something much worse. Specifically, the experiment that sounded like something out of a bad sci-fi book promised more than mere healing. It promised a new life. But as every story involving a deal with the unknown carries its own warning, Wade's was no exception. He was led by an organization whose moral compasses were so corrupt that even pirates would say, "Well, that's a bit too much for us." The experiment, aimed at creating a super soldier, was like Russian roulette, except in this case, every chamber was loaded. The transformation was not beautiful. It was agony that defined new levels of pain. And when the smoke cleared and Wade looked in the mirror, he did not recognize the man staring back at him. His face, once decent, now resembled a topographical map of Mars more than anything human. But oh, the abilities he had acquired, they were spectacular. Wade could now heal from any wound, illness, or even a bad haircut in record time. But what to do with such a gift? Wade could choose the path of self-pity. He could become a villain, and this is a big, or he could choose something entirely different. Inspired more by vengeance than justice, he decided to adopt a new identity, one that matched his new grotesque exterior and his sarcastic spirit. Thus, Deadpool was born. Not quite a hero, definitely not a traditional villain, but something entirely unique. With his newfound power, endless supply of sarcasm, and an orange cape, which of course he quickly discarded because, let's be honest, orange really wasn't his color. Deadpool set out into the world with a simple plan: to cause chaos wherever he could, save the day sometimes, and never ever take life too seriously. He dreamed at night of revenge against those who had transformed him, and by day he pondered how he might use his new powers for more than personal gain. Maybe even for good, in a very, very twisted way. And so, armed with swords, guns, and an unrelenting need to comment on absolutely everything, Deadpool stepped into his new existence, ready to change the world, or at least to make it laugh a little. In the whirlwind of his existence, where the boundaries between justice and revenge, reality and fiction seemed as blurred as the window of old glasses, Deadpool danced his unusual dance. His unconventional personality illuminated the darkness of the Marvel Universe with flashes of humor, black as night, and action, bright as New Year's fireworks. He wasn't just breaking the fourth wall, he dynamited it into a million pieces, speaking directly to the audience like an old friend, sometimes even pausing in the midst of battle to correct the writers or share an anecdote.
I'm talking to you. Yes, you who are watching this. Subscribe to the channel and like the movie.
But within this kaleidoscope of lies and laughter, within his humorous monologues and mad escapades, hid a man facing his own soul's labyrinth. Every joke, every piece of cynicism, was a carefully placed defense against a world that had let him down, against the pain he felt every time he faced his reflection in the mirror. The battle with his demons was a race he couldn't win, a fight that never ended, but he led it with the only weapon he knew how to use best: humor. His relationship with Wolverine, however, was like a cocktail of extreme emotions and history. Logan, with his eternal anger and almost equally impressive healing abilities, was like a mountain Wade could never conquer, nor fully understand. Their interaction was dynamic, explosive, full of mutual provocations. For Wade, Logan was an inexhaustible source of entertainment, someone whose grimaces of anger provided endless material for his jokes. For Logan, Deadpool was something like an annoying but indestructible mosquito, irritating but an inevitable part of his mutant life. Although their moments together were filled with sarcastic remarks and occasional physical conflict, there was an undertone of respect, hidden deep beneath layers of frustration. Logan, in his own way, recognized something in Deadpool that few had seen: the struggle, the pain, the desire for something more than what his past had offered him. Wade, on the other hand, saw in Wolverine an example of strength and determination, a role model he might have wanted to become, if he could ever stop joking long enough to admit it. In this chaotic world, Deadpool continued his fight, armed with humor as both shield and sword, always on the edge, always ready for the next laugh or battle. His life was an unusual dance on the line between madness and brilliance, a fight between the man he was and what he could become. At the heart of that storm stood the Merc with a mouth, a hero in his own way, a man whose greatest power might have been the simple ability to laugh in the face of danger, and to share that laughter with all of us. In the chaotic world in which he lived, where days passed faster than the popularity of internet challenges, Deadpool's search for meaning was no less turbulent than his battles. A daily life filled with bullets, jokes, and occasional explosions was his reality. Yet beneath the surface of this hectic exterior lay a deep desire for something more, something that would give his existence true meaning. The entrance of Vanessa into his life was like a fresh breeze in a smoky room full of mirrors and illusions. Vanessa, with her sharp intellect, warm smile, and ability to see the real Wade behind Deadpool's grotesque mask, was his anchor, his harbor in the storm. Their love story was not ordinary. It was a tale of two broken souls who found and provided refuge for each other. Deadpool, a man known for surviving any physical injury, found himself vulnerable in an entirely new way. Vanessa evoked feelings in him that he thought he would never experience again, bringing to the surface his need for love, acceptance, and, dare we say, normalcy. Through her, Wade began to realize that behind all the jokes, sarcasm, and masks, there was a man worthy of love and happiness. However, his quest for meaning was not just a romantic odyssey. It was also an internal struggle, a constant reevaluation of himself and his role in a world that had never fully accepted him. Deadpool grappled with issues of identity, trying to understand where he fits between heroes and anti-heroes, between justice and vengeance. His desire to be more than just a mercenary more than just the merc with a mouth, led him on journeys that crossed the boundaries of battlefields. He tried to find a place in the world that could accept his flaws and past, a place where he could be Wade Wilson, not just Deadpool. It was a difficult path, filled with failures, disappointments, and of course, inevitable conflicts. But it was his path, one he had to follow. Despite all adversities, Deadpool's quest for meaning, for his true self, for love and a place in this chaotic world, remained the central thread connecting all aspects of his existence. Through jokes and laughter, through pain and tears, through love and loss, he continued to search for the most important thing, the true meaning of life, what makes him a real person underneath it all. In a world of masked Avengers, Deadpool stood out with his uniqueness, becoming not just a hero but also a cult phenomenon and a symbol of resistance to the conventional. His message of authenticity and acceptance of one's own flaws resonated around the world, transforming him into an icon that transcends comic book boundaries and penetrates popular culture. His influence is visible in movies, video games, and fashion, where he has become a symbol of a culture that values irony, sarcasm, and the ability to find humor in the darkest moments. Deadpool has not only entertained, he has been a beacon for those who felt lost, providing comfort and inspiration. His ability to balance between light and dark, humor and seriousness, has made him one of the most distinguished and beloved characters of the Marvel Universe, a hero for the modern age who teaches us that it is okay to accept and love our own imperfections.